flying prices to the moon. The beers them waiting for the crash coming real soon. But the OG consultant watching, he's seen it all before. Over 40 years in the game, he knows the real score. Bull versus bear, a real estate fight. He doesn't tell you who's wrong and who is right. In the Miami Condo investing club with no guests, he cuts through the noise and all of the mess. The Peter Zalewski Show, big respect OG in the game. Listen and learn the man's name. And up down. Peter Zalewski Show.
Happy Wednesday, Miami. This is Peter Zalewski. This is the Peter Zalewski Show. If you're watching this live, that means it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday, and I'm going to have a conversation with somebody I think you need to know, whether you live here, whether you just moved here, or whether you're thinking about moving here. This week, I am fortunate enough, I'm almost honored, if I would go that far, blowing a little smoke here, but I got a technologist on the podcast, no one else but John Moura. I've worked with John for 20 years. John runs a marketing agency called Build Reach. He's out of Boston. He's got all kind of tech background. And more importantly, that song you saw at the beginning, the opening of this show, as well as all of my openings. Who created them? No one else but John Moura. John Moura, BuildReach.com. Welcome to the Peter Zalewski Show, and thank you for making the time. And more importantly, thank you for making the music, because it is exceptional music. How do you do it? But before we get to that, welcome, John.
Well, thank you, Peter. Happy to be on the show.
I whenever I got a tech question, I always reach out to you, and I always say, John, what can I do here? What can I do there? My mother had a situation. I reached out to you. I said, oh my God, and she got hacked, and you're able to figure it all out. So I would tell everybody out there who's watching this live and or is going to be watching it recorded, you got any tech questions, you got marketing questions, anything related to AI, John's the guy you want to reach out to. BuildReach.com. He does marketing. He does music. I like to say AI music company, because that's effectively what he can do. My songs that you hear, leading into the podcast, I give him a couple words. I give him a genre of music, and I say, John, what can you do? And he comes back and he blows my mind. John, one of the songs we're going to show a little bit later on, we'll let people get a little sense of it. I had people writing back to me and saying, listen, I would listen to that at a club. That's the type of music you're producing. How the hell do you do it?
Well, in the last couple of years, AI has just really rocketed everything forward. It doesn't matter whether it's text-based LLMs like Gemini and ChatGPT, or the music industry like Suno.com, which is where I primarily do most of my AI music generation. And it's just exploded that they've gone from version 3 when I started, or version 2.5 when I started using them like a year ago, and they're already on version 5 today, and it is light years ahead. And every time they make another release through Suno, it's just incredible to see how far they come every time, setting a new standard. So Suno.com, Suno. If you've never checked it out before, I do definitely recommend checking it out. It can be a bit overwhelming at first if you're not used to it, but really, really powerful stuff. And, you can use it for general music creation, but the other thing you can do is use it for like creating podcast intros, a theme or an anthem to a club or a restaurant, or for commercials, or it could be a upcoming building. It could be anything that you want to put a theme song to, and you now have basically the ability to do it.
And there's no copyright issues. You're able to create the music, post it, publish it effectively. It's yours, and it goes through all of the censors, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, or anybody else. That's the fascinating part. And you can do it relatively quickly. But John, I got to be honest with you. It's not that easy to do. And that's why, your involvement in it, from my perspective, has been like, I'm not going to say life altering, but it's been significant that you're able to actually get exactly kind of what I'm thinking about. I can't express it, but somehow you're able to communicate and translate from what I tell you, which is a bunch of gibberish. And then you turn around and you tell AI in such a way where it can actually follow through and produce the type of product that you produce, which has just been fantastic. So kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a process that goes with it. You know, if you want to just use pseudo as is, and you have your own lyrics that you've handwritten and a basic genre, you want to say, okay, I just want it to be a rock song with male vocals and something basic, and you have your own lyrics already. Yes, it can do that. It can even do some of your lyric generation for you. But when it really breaks down into doing it, you got to learn how to build your own prompts for like ChatGPT, Gemini, which is my primary go-to tool these days. I don't know if you had a chance to check out Gemini 3.0.
I'm a Gemini. I'm a Gemini person. I swear by them.
Yeah.
They're not always correct though. I will tell you
No.
that. None of the AIs are always correct.
No, and if you make songs too, you got to make sure that your lyrics, like let's say for example, you were doing something about gambling or casino, and you say, okay, I want a song about blackjack, and it's saying, you know, hit on 20, and you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. So you got to have to have enough control and enough reasoning, and to know how to input and figure out where it's wrong in order to correct it and keep it going. But if you look at like on the side, I've also released an album in the past year. I had a little side project going on called Agravarious. Released an album a couple months ago. And,
it's on Spotify. I saw it on Spotify. So you released an album that's on Spotify. How much singing did you do for that album?
I didn't do much singing at all. I did very little. There was some fun tracks that I did do some sampling with and use some traditional tool. I used to do a lot of music production actually back when I first was in Miami back in after '08, after the crash in the cycle down there. When I lived down there, I was doing a lot of music production. And so I have that background, so I'm able to play around with things a bit more than the average user too. But it's absolutely mind-blowing just how powerful it really is. And like the persona or your genre that you're having can be up to 1,000 characters long. And you can get really descriptive and nuanced to the artist. And so my actual Agravarious persona is 999 characters long. So out almost to the max for my artist. And then some of the stuff that I've created for you, they're shorter. Some of them are, 50 to 100 range. And other ones go beyond. But it all depends on what the needs are of the client and what they're looking to do.
Yeah. John, I want to get more into some of the services you offer, things like that. Why? Because the people who are probably watching this, they could be in the real estate industry. Maybe they're lenders, maybe they're something else. Maybe they're trying to understand AI. Maybe they have, they want to accomplish something, but they're running into trouble. And I want to put you in front of them in case maybe, you could solve any of their problems, and or maybe you could create some of their music or some of the other stuff, just because I have a lot of confidence in everything you could do. And there's not a lot of people, that you can't go to Best Buy and take it to the, what do they call it? The computer geeks or something, the Geek Squad. Yeah. So it's always good to know a guy. And I would sort of suggest that you are one of these guys. But John, before we get into some of those details, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about Boston. Are you a Patriots fan? They tend to be doing very good this year, and the Dolphins absolutely are piss poor. So tell us about living in Boston. Tell us about what's going on in New England. What's the vibe? And why is everybody so smart up there? It's so frustrating.
I tell you what, it's all the universities up here. It's just the culture of education and the convergence of all these different schools and the nature around Boston, which is where I'm based and originally from the New England area. I originally grew up in Maine, then was in Boston, then I was in Miami. From Miami, I went to LA to San Diego to Vegas to Denver, and Denver back to New York, and then back and around, all around again. So nice. I've kind of done it. I've done it all. Been marketing, technology. I used to work for Lyft here in Boston. I was their first marketing hire, doing conventional marketing for them. But Bill Reach has been my baby now for the last couple of years for my marketing consulting. We also do technology consulting as well, and try to answer any questions that someone might need, starting a website or creating a website, creating a blog, launching, online social media content, AI direction, AI guidance. AI really is only as good as what you put in. It's going to give you what you put crap in, you get crap out. You put good stuff in, you tend to get good stuff out. But you do get a lot of slop. And, it's a term you're going to hear all the time now, is AI slop. And if you zoom in on a lot of AI images that are created and things of that nature, you start to see the nuanced details of like that person's missing half a head and this person's, the dog is backwards and you run into the issues and some people don't know how to overcome those. So we also do AI online video. So that's where we play into that a lot, is trying to produce AI productions that are really strong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So John, you're born and raised in the Boston, New England area, and you ended up coming down to Miami. You came down right before or right around the Great Recession. I was getting Condo Vultures going at the time, and you were an integral part of what was going on with the websites, with everything else. We had plenty of war stories back then. So take people back to when you were in Miami. Talk about kind of what was going on and what the vibe was like as somebody coming from Boston who's around smart people all the time, and compare and contrast Boston, New England versus what was going on in Miami at the time. Because I'm venture to guess completely different worlds.
Yeah. So I was actually managing a restaurant, bar, and nightclub up here in the Northeast, just north of Boston at that time. But I was getting tired of it. I hit 25 and I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years already, the hospitality. And I just said, you know what? I need a change. I want to get out of Dodge. My roommate that I had up here at one time had also was already headed down to Miami. And I was like, he was trying to say, come down here. We'll do day trading. We'll stock trade. We'll produce music. You'll love the beach, the woman, the weather, the music, everything. He's like, you're going to love this city. I said, okay, you know what? Let me just throw it all in. I packed up my car. I drove down to Miami nonstop, 24-hour nonstop ride from Boston. The first thing I do when I arrive, I'm thinking I'm going to settle in and everything will be nice and cool. And the first thing I get, my buddy is like, hey, we're in a place called Gold Rush in downtown. Come see us. And that was my first welcome to Miami experience. And from there, we ended up meeting you through another real estate contact. And we built out Condo Vultures 3.0 at that time.
That's right. That's right.
We were already on the 2.0 before. We built out Condo Vultures 3.0. And then we also did Crane Spotters and Condo Ratings Agency and a couple other projects here and there that we've done as well, and some freelance stuff too. But
Yeah.
But Miami, that was another world. To come in from Boston, where it's just relatively peaceful, quiet, cold winters, to vibrant, Latin culture. I mean, everyone, asked me when I got down to Miami, like, what did you think of it? I'm like, I feel like I moved to another country, because it's truly another world. I remember the first time I walked into a Walgreens and I hear, "Hola, papi," and I'm like, what? This is another world. But I do miss it. I do miss it a lot.
Now, John, you made a reference, and maybe some of the people watching will recognize or not recognize, but you mentioned a place called Gold Rush. Gold Rush was interesting because it was like an old school strip joint. We're talking strip joint. And it's since closed, and a group out of New York came, they knocked it down. They built a 3-story cabaret that ultimately turned into what we all know today as 11. They have followed suit with 2 luxury condo towers named after Club 11. They have their own line of vodka. They have all this type of stuff. So That's how it's more from the time you were here. What years were you here? Remind me.
Okay, so I came in, I want to say it was 09.
Okay, so right when everything was going to shit with the condo market.
Yeah.
Lehman Brothers had just failed. People were starting to dump. There was blood in the streets. Nobody in the bars.
Deals and galore back then. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to see where we were back then, I recently just did a study, and I took a look at the numbers going all the way back to 2000 from the condo sales perspective. And 2007, before Lehman Brothers failed and the Great Recession really kind of began symbolically, Miami sales were down and prices were up. So I ran the numbers for 25 years for the summer, and I asked AI to take a look at it. What I was seeing, and AI came up with the same conclusion. They say statistically 2025 summer is the equivalent of 2007. Now, what's interesting is going back then, 2008 is when the market bottomed out from a sales perspective. and 2010 is when prices bottomed out. So I don't know if there's any parallels or anything, but John, you were here in '09 when, everything was on sale. People were just dumping. You had situations where guys were leasing out apartments from landlords who were going to get basically foreclosed.
Yep.
And these guys were paying half the rent because the landlord just wanted some cash because he knew it was sort of going out. It was going to disappear. Who knows? Maybe it's time for you to come back for potentially what could be another run. A point, call it Hangover 2.0.
I think this time around, if I was to do it again and come down, I'd wait for the condo market to drop and then try to price myself in, purchase a condo at the low point, and have that crash pad in Miami that I always wanted.
Right. Now, John, just to sort of compare and contrast to give people an idea, you're a Boston guy. You come down here. Everybody knows about Boston. They know about all that. You come down here to Miami, and you're ecological before anybody else is. So you're driving a scooter or a moped, I think is what they call them now. So you got this moped, you're driving around. You had never really experienced the South Florida summer rain. And memory serves me correct. Aren't you going over the causeway, the Julia Tuttle Causeway or something on this scooter? You're trying to save Mother Earth. You're worried about the emissions and everything. So you got this scooter and it starts pissing down rain. Can you kind of walk people through the story? Because the point of it is when you transition from somewhere else to Miami, it's such a unique place. And if you don't know what you're stepping into, you might actually step into it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I ended up, one of my friends let me use their scooter down in Miami when I first got down there. And so when I started doing consulting for Condo Vultures, which was over in Ball Harbor.
Bay Harbor Islands. I told
Harbor
everybody it was
Islands,
Bell
okay.
Harbor, but it was Bay Harbor Islands.
And
by the way, funny story. So I'm in Bay Harbor Islands, which is basically on the other side of a canal from Bell Harbor. And so I'm saying Bell Harbor because nobody knows where Bay Harbor Islands is. They all think it's one of the same. The village manager sends me an email. Hey, you're not in Bell Harbor. You're in Bay Harbor Island. Stop besmirching our village. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
No, that's great though. And I had actually had an incident with my existing laptop that I had. My laptop went kaput. I had to get a new laptop and come in to do a meeting with you. And so I was like, okay, I need to go to Best Buy. And my current understanding of geography in South Florida wasn't that good. And so it turns out that this was like a 45-minute scooter ride away from the office. And sure enough, a thunderstorm, as often happens in South Florida, rolls through almost immediately as I walk out of the store at Best Buy onto the scooter. And there is flooding in the streets. It is torrential downpour, lightning. I could have swore there was hail, but it was an absolute mess. And I remember I kept having to pull over. The scooter kept stalling out every time I go through the big puddles. And oh man, yeah. But I made it. And then we found something out. There was something with that laptop that was wrong, and we had to go back to the store again. So yeah, that was my first geography lesson in South Florida and weather lesson, that you must always be prepared for rain in South Florida.
Yeah, well, John, you lived for a period of time over in North Bay Village, which is it's a city that's located in the middle of the bay. It's man-made islands, and effectively on one side is Miami Beach, the other side is mainland Miami. Be off 79th Street on the mainland and 71st over on the beach. So you were living in North Bay Village, and when you were there, you got the privilege, I would say, to go to a place called Happy's Stork Lounge. This is a place that was open till 5 a.m. This place was so legendary that Snoop Dogg made a movie along with Matthew McConaughey, and they actually filmed it inside this little shithole bar. A developer has since purchased the dirt. They knocked it down. They're supposedly putting up rentals. They tried to recreate this Happy's Stork Lounge. They went down the street a little bit, right next to a Presidente grocery store. But now they have white tablecloths, and they have napkins, and they have like water glasses on some of the tables. Where the original, the only thing you would eat out of there if it came out of a bag, because you didn't know what you were going to expect. But yet everybody turned out there. Investment bankers would go there. Homeless people. It was a real a sense of what kind of Miami was back in the day. What do you remember of Happy's Stork Lounge?
Well, that was a quintessential dive bar, and for me, it was literally like a 10-minute walk away from the house. So I was right on the intercoastal of North Bay Village. If I walked out of my apartment, walked down the steps, take 10 steps to my right, I was there, right there on the water on the intercoastal. Take another 150 feet, 250 feet, that way there was Happy's. So I can remember heading over there for many a late night session with friends, quintessential dive bar. But it was quite the melting pot. I mean, you really did get quite the rum of characters that would show up in there. It was never know, and every time you went, you never know who was going to be next. But you'd always know that if you continuously kind of showed up there, you'd run into the same characters again. But yeah, it's sad to hear that they tore it down and went white tablecloth. That's the complete reversal.
You know, it's part of a whole initiative that's going on there, especially in a place like North Bay Village, because the market got so extreme when everybody came down in 2021, when the state of Florida said you don't have to wear a mask, and the city of Miami Beach said, come on down and you can get on a police car and twerk. Everybody came down here. They bid up all of the pricing on the condos, and there was just a whole influx. And that prompted a lot of developers to buy up dirt, institutions, if you will, knock them down and put up some of these brand new condo towers. So, you know, John, I would venture to guess you were here at a real special moment in time, because we were coming out of our great boom, which was triggered by low interest rates that came as a result of the dot-com bust, as well as September 11th. And then Ellen Greenspan cut interest rates at zero. Developers started going. So we built the hell out of it. And then it all just tumbled and collapsed. So you got a very rare glimpse of a place that I don't know that exists anymore today.
Yeah, I mean, from those I've talked to, it's changed quite dramatically, the landscape of Miami and the surrounding cities. For me, when I first arrived, I lived in South Beach. And even South Beach, from what I know of it today and what I know of it back then, is a completely different realm. Almost all of my friends that lived in South Beach have now moved to Brickell or, you know, to the islands or somewhere else. And most of the people have left South Beach, which was kind of surprising because that's where everybody kind of wanted to be before. And now Brickell seems like it's the place where everybody wants to be. And Wynwood was becoming more popular, and now Wynwood's been built out dramatically, I've heard.
Well, you remember how sketchy Wynwood was at the time. There was a place called Lester's.
From Wynwood to Gold Rush one evening after an art event. A walk at Saturday AM through Overtown. That's some rough area.
My friend, you would not recognize Overtown. Anybody who's watching this podcast doesn't know Overtown. So what happened in the 1950s after World War II, the federal government put in place, I think it was under Eisenhower, they put in place this idea that we need to build a highway system, much like Germany had. So they had to decide where they were gonna take the road, I-95. And a decision was made to run it effectively right through, because of segregation and everything else, run it right through effectively the area for African Americans. Remember, Miami Beach, and this is based on books I've read and historians I've seen, Miami Beach had rules where, African Americans had to leave Miami Beach at night. They couldn't use the sand. So that's why they created Virginia Key as a public beach for African Americans. That's what Miami used to be. So everybody would congregate in a place called Overtown. Before that, it had different names I'm not going to say on the air. But the reason they got the name Overtown is the city leaders made the decision to take this interstate system and run it right over the African American community and basically disrupted everything and separated everything. So it really kind of became like one of these areas that really kind of struggled. John, fast forward to today, you have REITs going in there building luxury rentals. They are doing stackable big box. You got an Aldi's, you got a Target. They're all stacked on top of each other.
Wow.
You have HBO. They have their office there now in Overtown. It's just a dramatic, significant change. You would not even recognize what Overtown is today. And there's a lot in the community that said, listen, we had to put up with all this shit for so long, and now you guys are suddenly gentrifying it. You're changing everything, and we can't afford to be here, so we're all being forced out. So it's going through this massive change. I don't know if it's for the good or for the bad, but again, you were here at a moment in time that was very unique, and I don't think you would find it again if you came today, especially like over.